The men's
Okay.
100, let's start there. I think we have a couple clear storylines here playing out. One, Trayvon Bromell, he is the favorite. He's run 977 this year, undefeated this year in the 100. Then you have questions around Noah Lyles because he has not broken 10 seconds this year. And then you have the Fred Curley dynamic. 991, he's beat Gatlin and DeGrasse this year. Good wins. He scratched the 400 going down to the 100 and 200. But it is deep all around. You cannot forget names like Justin Gatlin, obviously, Ronnie Baker, Marvin Bracey, Isaiah Young. To me, I feel really strongly about Bromell making the team. And then there's a lot of question marks in this event, Gordon.
Yeah, I think this is an event where there's only one lock, and that is Bromell. Everyone has a reason to be a top 3 guy behind Bromell, but everyone also has a reason not to be. Isaiah Young, his reason is he's been consistent. He has thrown down consistently sub-10s multiple times in 2021. His con, he has never really done it before, and he's on the older side. He's not one of those younger guys. Fred Curley, we know what he is. His pro is he's a freak of an athlete. His con is he's never done it before. Ronnie Baker, his pro is he's consistent. His con is can he be a clutch performer? Micaiah Williams, his con is college guy. So can he get it done when it matters most? Freshman. Bracey, he only has one good performance this season. Noah Lyles, you know what he's done. He's had a subpar 2021. Justin Gatlin, he's 50 years old. So they all have these different pros and cons. Right now, so what we did was we actually created our final FloTrack rankings. So you guys can check them out on the site. They went up on the site live at 4 a.m. this morning. And right now, the FloTrack rankings have Bromell 1, Isaiah Young 2, and Fred Curley 3.
Oh, wow.
With the 4, 5, 6 being Ronnie Baker, Micaiah Williams, Marvin Bracey 6, 7 Noah Lyles, and 8 Justin Gatlin. So that's the final that we have projected with Lyles and Gatlin in 7 and 8. But you just have to give credit for Isaiah Young being really consistent and Fred Curley, who low-key has had a really good 100-meter season that kind of you can't overlook. And maybe there's a reason he's doing it. Maybe he knows.
Yeah, there's got to be. There's got to be something going on there. I will just make one side prediction here. Justin Gatlin's not finishing 8th. I'm just going to say that right now. He may not make the team, but he's not going to finish 8th. We know what Gatlin's going to do. He's going to run somewhere in the 998 to 990 or maybe 988 range there. And I think he's anywhere from on this team from 2nd to 6th in that range. Yeah, I think Bromell is the only lock. I like the argument around Baker, just consistent and steady. And then I think that third spot's either going to come from Bracey or Young, one of the guys who's popped a sub 9.9 this year. And, you mentioned Bracey hasn't done much other than the 985. He has the experience of making the Olympic team, though. And Isaiah Young's made 200-meter teams. Those guys have at least gone through the process before. So are we making official picks on this?
Yeah. So what's your top 3?
I'm going to go Bromell, Baker, Bracey.
Loving the B's. You going triple
Yes.
B?
Triple.
Bromell, Baker,
B.
Bracey.
Are you writing these down? Don't actually hold me accountable.
No, I'm holding you accountable. These are our final official picks. You get no takebacks.
Okay.
My order is going to be, I'm going with Bromell, Bracey, Curley.
Mm-hmm. On the women's side of things, we have a bit of a similar situation in that Richardson is playing the role of Bromell with the clear favorite here. And then after that, a lot of question marks. And then it almost divides down into youth versus veterans here with Sha'Carri, Cambria Sturgis representing the youth. And then people like Aaliyah Hobbs, Tiana Barletta, Javian Oliver, more like a Kinnison, Tiana Daniel. There's just a long list of women who I guess you could say represent the veterans here, even though some of them aren't that old, but they're not in college. So the collegians versus the post-collegians.
Yeah, and right now the collegians have the advantage outside of obviously Richardson. FloTrack rankings came in with Richardson 1, Sturgis, the NCAA champ 2, Sha'Carri 3, who you said always finds a way to be top 3 in the races. then Aaliyah Hobbs, Tamara Clark, Javine Oliver, Briscoe, and Tiana Bartoletta in 8th. I know you'll say Bartoletta will not finish 8th in a final.
Man, she dropped that. Look how many times she's raced this year. Tiana Bartoletta's raced like 60 times. It seems like her results page is massive, and she dropped a sub 11. That was very surprising to me. I think someone like Hobbs or Briscoe would have been, would have made sense as a pick, right? But it's tough to go against the collegians here when you have Cambria Sturgis running 1074. Yeah, I know it's wind dated, but then backing up with the 2212, and you have Tanisha Cherry running a 1079 wind. We talked last pod about Terry. I'm big on Terry. I'm picking Terry for sure here. The only question mark to me is that third spot. I feel good about Richardson. I feel good about Terry.
All right, so I guess I should go first on my prediction.
Sure, unless you want to do more deep analysis here on what to expect.
Yeah, so here's the thing. We gave ourselves 5 minutes per event, and right now we're at 6:17. But I guess we should give an asterisk to the 100 because it is the marquee event. So it's okay if we go over, I guess. That's my – okay, so we can keep talking. On the women's, I think it's interesting. There are some like really big names that really aren't really having strong seasons that I could see not even making finals. Like Tiana Daniels hasn't really been running that well. Jenna Prandini, Desiree Bryant hasn't been running that well. Morikea Kinnison. Like these are like names that we've seen in multiple finals. Some have made multiple teams, but they haven't had like any really notable performance in 2021. And the question is, will these people who haven't had notable performances, are they just waiting for mid-June to have their like notable performance, or is it they're not what they used to be? That's the big question mark for me when it comes to the women's 100.
Well, you're absolutely right, because you look at these entry times that's on the USATF list, and they're not keeping it down to just this year. So a lot of times there's a performance there that's really old, and then you look at the times this year, and it's a bunch of 11-2s and a bunch of fourth place finishes. And that doesn't inspire much confidence going into the championships. Because if you actually look at this year's list, you got Richardson at 1072. This is just with their PB, their season best. Terry at 1089. Hobbs 1091. That was from the end of April. Sturgis 1092. Remember, these are legal marks. Tamara Clark, another collegian, 1096. Then Bartoletta 1097. Oliver 1097. Those are the only sub 11s this year. Then you got Briscoe at 1102. It changes it a bit, as compared to looking at, well, what have they done within the qualifying window? Well, that's so long ago now.
Yeah. You gotta, when we updated these FloTrack rankings, we threw out 2019 altogether. There's nothing you could have done in 2019 that should influence the 2021 June performances. So I was purely only looking at 2021 as a reference point. Sure. You've had enough opportunity to run in enough races to prove fitness, to don't prove fitness, etc. The only time I didn't really look at 2021 was for 5K, 10K, because not everyone needs to run a fast 5K in 2021 if you already had it. So you kind of have to adjust accordingly. But in the 100, you've had opportunities to run fast. There's no sit and kick 100 out there. If you're an 11-2 woman right now, likely you're going to be an 11-2 woman in June. So I'll give you my picks. I'm going with Richardson 1. And then I was tempted to go college back to back, but I'm gonna give a little love to these pros. They kind of have been out of the spotlight, so I'm gonna go Richardson 1, Tanisha Terry 2, Aaliyah Hobbs 3. So I'm gonna take out Sturgis.
You don't have Sturgis, yeah. And I got, for that third spot behind Richardson and Terry, I got Javian Oliver. In that third spot. She's competed frequently. She's run in the Diamond Leagues. She's run the sub 11 this year. But it's wide open for that third spot. It's wide open for the finals as well too. But I think there is going to be some pro that pops it, like some pro that pops through.
So you're not picking Sturgis either?
I'm not. I'm picking Terry. Look, I was on the Terry bandwagon first. I feel like once I gave you that stat that she's finished top 3 in 5 of her 6 60 finals or 100-meter finals, that just swayed you. I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if Sturgis makes a team. Let me be very clear about that. I will not be shocked if she makes the team. But Terry wasn't that far behind her last week, and we've seen what Terry does in these sort of races. She's ultra consistent. And I will, when we're wrong, when we record the recap pod after day 2, I will obviously say, what was I thinking? Why did I pick against the person? But Sturgis has entered in 2 events, correct?
Yes.
So
2 events.
Could be more Sturgis. Yeah. Could be more Sturgis coming later on in the show. I'm not saying she's not going to make the Olympic team.
True.